Hey, welcome in everyone to Dom Time, talking with Six King, who's the director and creator of the film Mothers of No Tomorrow, which I urge you to take a look at. And one of those mothers, Cheryl Say, who lost her son on Easter Sunday when two young men came to the door and essentially shot him right in front of the rest of the family. And the broader problems here, Six, if you had to put your finger on one or two things that could be remedied that are not just things that seem to be out of control, what would you point to?
Well, 73% of households, African-American households, are headed up by single parents, single moms. So a greater concentration on our girls, because if you concentrate on 16-year-old girls, they're not mothers at 30 raising 16-year-olds that they can't handle. So that's one. And two, greater participation in the education realm. You know, when you're studying for midterms, you're not out shooting people, you know. And so a greater cause of education. That's how African Americans were able to pull themselves out of poverty and everything else. Parents are not volunteering at the schools. Parents are not coming to the PTA meetings. Parents are not being involved. And so I've always said that if we want to hold public teachers accountable, we need to hold private home teachers accountable, because that's where it starts. And
Cheryl, in your area, West Philadelphia, the type of neighborhood, bars, nuisance bars, things like that, do you feel there's enough police presence?
I feel that there is, and then there isn't, because there's so many different areas and neighborhoods that they have to patrol. It's just very difficult because we're so saturated with all of these places that continue to bring us down. There's so many fast food restaurants that aren't necessarily needed. There are bars, there are delis, there are these stores where they sell all kinds of things, and like you could go one block after the next and you'll find the same set of stores almost in each and every block. And I think that's a cause of a lot of the crime activity that goes on because of those that visit those places.
Do you feel your neighborhood is saturated with drugs? Is that an issue?
I feel, though, that's part of the issue, yes.
Yeah. And anything more about these kids that shot your son? It seemed to me the most frightening thing is, and I'll ask Six who put together this film, that they're not remarkable. They weren't drug dealers. There wasn't anything. That this is just an everyday phenomenon. It's horrible enough if there's some big criminal element to it. But this is just what people do. I mean, back in the day, all right, they came to the door, they had a dispute with your son, they might grab him, they might start fighting, they might punch him. All right, that's one thing. It's bad enough. But just to cavalierly pull out a gun and shoot is amazing. And Six, you've studied this more through these moms.
Absolutely.
What's the causal element that's changed that makes that acceptable?
Yeah, it's just, it's really, it's scary because it's random acts of violence. I had a teenager that I mentored, you know, for years, and he bumped into a guy getting off the bus in Alany, and the guy just pulled out a gun and killed him. So it's very scary. And what we have to understand as a community is that we have to combat this and stop this.
Well, give me an example of that, though. So,
me personally, there's not enough police officers.
Right.
Period.
Right. But I mean, Six, I was going to say too. I hear people all the time say, "I'm not going to do anything about this guy, even though this might help to stop it."
Right.
Reason? I'm afraid he might come back and shoot me.
Right. And this
you hear this constantly.
And they're absolutely right. And if I were president, or if I were mayor, or if I was governor, to fix this, the inner city needs. We need military. And a lot of people may, you know, say, oh no martial law. The community does not feel safe, and the police does not have enough manpower to do it. Stick in our reserves for 36 months. I'd rather see someone who's serving their country with the right firepower to protect children and people than somebody who does not, should not have an illegal gun or walking around. It's like the OK Corral. I mean, you know, how brazen is it to be able to walk up onto someone's porch and bring a gun and shoot them in front of their parents
on Easter Sunday, and think you're going to get away with it? That there's not a widespread, well, at least in this case, Cheryl, your neighbors and others have identified the shooters. There's one in custody, and the other one the police are working towards. So at least, do you think Mothers of No Tomorrow, though, has gotten enough attention, gotten enough media? I see it out there pretty well, that what you guys have put together with Six is pretty powerful.
Yeah, I would say definitely that it needs to be brought to more attention. People just don't take it as seriously as they should, and I think it goes back to, well, it won't happen to me, but like I said, it can. And
well, that's why I think you're a particularly good representative, because you're coming across, and some of these moms at Six has artfully put together as women who had intact families care about their sons. When you mention Easter Sunday dinner, people watching this, we can all identify with that. As horrible as it is, this is not some wild, out of control thing where you'd have that expectation that this happens. So parting message from you, parting words from you tonight.
In my parting message, I would just like to say that no parent would ever want to experience what me and my husband and my family has experienced. We saw our son Jarrell take his first breath at birth and his last breath at death. And that shouldn't be witnessed by anyone.
Absolutely. Six, thank you again. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Definitely.
Cheryl Say, thank you very much for joining us here on Dom Time. Coming up, my look at something out there. Should kids have mandatory recess in schools? There's a state senator in New Jersey who wants to make that a law, 20 minutes a day, that the schools have to have recess. I'll give you my take straight ahead. Hey, can you remember recess? Can you remember growing up as a kid? I remember my recess at King of Peace in South Philadelphia. And it was a time of the day after lunch, or you actually had a recess period of time that you got to blow off some steam, play Releasio, play basketball, play tag. Pretty rough at times, South Philly. Well, now a state senator in New Jersey has had it with what she says is high-stakes testing and physical fitness classes. She just wants plain old-fashioned recess, which you would think most schools would be doing that. 20 minutes a day mandated by law. But then once again, the lawyers come in. They say, what do you do? A lot of kids won't go out if the temperature is under 40. One state representative is behind this because he likes kickball. Not a fan of kickball, just as a side note. But can you imagine now a body of legislature mandating that the schools must provide 20 minutes of recess every single day, or come up with a form and a reason why they're not doing it on said days? And we don't live in the nanny state. I don't want to go back to the good old days, but things were better when you just went out, you played, you had recess, and you didn't need a giant legislature to make the school do that. This is Dom Giordano. Thanks for watching Dom Time.